All right, and welcome back to Logan Simmons Photography. Really appreciate you watching the channel, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and like this video because I know you're going to like it a lot. We're going to talk about another Topaz Labs product today. We've looked at Gigapixel, we've looked at their Sharpen AI, their JPEG to RAW conversion tool, and today it's going to be their DeNoise AI program. And basically what this program does is it takes an image you've shot on your digital camera and applies noise reduction to it, and supposedly uses artificial intelligence to kind of figure out maybe what elements it should add in to somehow reduce the noise. Anyway, it's artificial intelligence. We'll go into it and you can actually see. But first, I'm going to start in Adobe Camera Raw here because I want to show you kind of what the latest in Adobe looks like versus what the Topaz Lab products looks like. So let's go in here. This is the same editing engine as Adobe Lightroom. And this particular little forest scene was shot on a 12 megapixel DSLR, so not the most up-to-date thing, and it was shot at ISO 1600. So that is a fairly high ISO for a camera like that anyway. And I've already applied some noise reduction, as you can see there. In fact, I can pull back a little bit there if you'd like. And you can see a little bit of noise in there probably, especially in the shadows, at least on my screen. So often what I'll do, I'll go over to the Detail tab here in Camera Raw, and I'll go ahead and slide up and say, about right there, we can slide that up. And depending on how much detail I want, I can adjust the slider here ever so slightly. I can, of course, remove any color noise, like those little speckles of magenta and green that appear in shadows on high ISO images. I can remove that here and, of course, adjust the color or whatnot. That actually looks pretty good for, this image. I think that's probably the best I'm going to be able to get. So I'm going to say that's probably the best result from Adobe Camera Raw. Now, I've actually already saved out a version of this, so I'm not going to go ahead and save it. But I want to go ahead, actually, I'm going to take all the noise reduction off right now. And I've already sharpened the image about where it needs to be, I think. And I'm going to go ahead and open up an Adobe Photoshop. And the DeNoise AI product actually offers a Photoshop plugin, a Lightroom plugin, as well as a standalone version. But we're going to go ahead and use the Photoshop plugin because that's what we find ourselves in here today. So go up to Filter, Topaz Labs, and you'll see there I've got the Sharpen AI, but I've also got the DeNoise AI product. And it's going to launch that fairly quickly. And let me kind of go over the interface here as it loads up a quick little preview. And it's, whenever I move around the image, it's going to auto-update the preview there. So you have a couple different options. You have DeNoise AI and AI Clear. And basically what I have found, the DeNoise AI typically works better than the AI Clear. In fact, there's a little bit of a description here. We'll hover the mouse over it again. It says DeNoise AI slower, preserve more detail, but may not work for certain types of images. AI Clear will work with more, but may not be basically as good. So we're going to use DeNoise AI at this point. I haven't seen a need yet to use the AI Clear feature. And let's go ahead and actually hit Auto Detect Settings here, because I honestly think this does a pretty good job with the auto version. So as you can see there, immediately you see the before and after there. It does a pretty good job there of cleaning up the noise there that's actually in the tree. I think this preview is fairly close to what the actual product will look like. Let me kind of go over here in the brush a little bit and let's see. It is, muddying things up in here a little bit, but not too bad. Let's actually go ahead and turn off the auto detect. And actually, it saved the settings from where we were before. And I might say, let's slide this original detail recover up a little bit here, which should bring a little bit more detail in there, just a little bit. And if I wanted to here, I could remove color noise. For some reason, I noticed that doesn't do it in the automatic settings. So if you have some color noise, which looking around here, I don't think I see much, you'd want to adjust that particular setting right there. So I'll go ahead and hit Apply. And it takes, this is a 12 megapixel image. 16-bit, it takes about maybe a little less than a minute on this machine. It's a MacBook Pro, 13-inch, 16 gigs of RAM, quad-core processor, so pretty standard. Although I imagine it would move a lot faster if you had a dedicated graphics card, because I think it does use the graphics card as well if you've got one. This is just the integrated Intel, so it does take a little bit longer, but we're at 80% here. Let's go ahead and watch her spin, and I'm going to actually show you this live. We're not even going to cut ahead because it's moving pretty quickly, so that gives you an idea how long it takes. And let's go ahead and do the before and after. I've got my history open right here, and we can say this is how we opened it, and there's definitely some noise in there. In fact, I'll zoom into 200% versus that. So if you can see there, definitely a pretty good difference there. So I'm going to go ahead and save this out, and I want to compare it to that one from earlier. In fact, I'm going to save it out as a JPEG actually, because the one I had before was saved out as a JPEG, and we'll kind of compare there. We'll go ahead and save JPEG, and I'm going to call this DeNoise after, and we'll save it at about a 10. That's a pretty standard there. Let's go over to our Adobe Bridge and take a look. Now this is basically what the best that that Adobe could do with their Adobe Camera Raw product. Again, the same as in Lightroom. And they actually did a decent job here in the tree. There's probably a little bit of noise here though in the shadows and the little branches over here. So let's kind of compare back and forth. In fact, I think what I'll go ahead and do, I'm going to get my loop up here, and I'm going to go ahead and select over here. So the loop will just stay up for each image. And if you notice, this is the Adobe version, and this is going to be the Topaz Labs version. There is definitely more of a crispness there. Now, it's not a huge difference. I hope you're not having trouble seeing it on the video feed, but there definitely is a difference. I'll go ahead and move the loop over here to the kind of the shadows and the brush here, and we'll set it about right there. And, you know, I'm just trying to look. I'm having to even look a little closer to my monitor to see the difference here. Definitely see some noise here in the image. In the Adobe. It's almost gone there in the Topaz product. So now if you're printing at a fairly, you know, let's say an 8x10 size, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. Or if you're looking at a low res web version, you wouldn't notice much of a difference. Now I will say with some of these higher resolution displays, retina displays, computers have, and phones have, you may notice a difference. So you may see it as worthwhile there. So pretty effective there, I think. Now I want to go over something that does not work. Just FYI, I'm going to go ahead and open up this film scan. Let's get rid of that previous image we just had. And this is a Kodak Tri-X film scan, and there is grain in there. Now personally, I think it will be sacrilegious to try and remove noise from this image, because it's not really noise, it's grain, literal chemistry going on. But let's give it a whirl here. I may not even render it, but I at least want to show you, so if you were thinking about doing that. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at the automatic setting. And it's going to generate a preview there. There we go. And let's go ahead and hit apply here really quick. I'm just going to do automatic, the DeNoise AI feature. We'll go ahead and hit apply. And I'll probably skip ahead here, so we'll come back in a second. Okay, and we're back on this one. It's taking a little bit longer because this is a slightly higher resolution file. But I'll go ahead and do the before and after here. So there's when we open the file, and then there's the Topaz version. It's made the image softer and kind of made this weird kind of, I don't know, square pattern all over the image. So again, not really designed for film grain. Do not try and remove noise from your film, because quite frankly, it doesn't. It has grain, not noise. So let's go ahead and get out of that. I want to do one last thing. Let's say you really screwed something up, or you're shooting with a really bad camera, super high ISO, and it's pretty muddy. You know, can DeNoise really help you in these situations? So I'm going to open up this file. This image was shot at ISO 3200 and was many seconds long, maybe even up to 30, I can't quite recall. I shot this way back in 2006 on a 6 megapixel DSLR in JPEG. Who knows what I was thinking, but that's what I did. So as you can see, very noise, tons of color noise. Although I do think some of this kind of magenta tint is probably from lights that are in the area. But we'll go ahead and let's give it a try. Let's go ahead and see. Let's go up to Filter, Topaz Labs, and we'll hit DeNoise AI. And we'll go ahead and start with the automatic once it generates our preview here. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and actually move down here. We can turn off the auto update feature if that's slowing things down, if you'd like, by checking that checkbox. Let's see. I definitely want to go ahead and do some noise reduction in the color, which is not something that's done by default. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this up. Let's see how far we need to go. I might even go a little bit more than that. But as you can see, it's actually cleaning it up pretty nicely there. Okay, so in fact, if I move it there, you see the before and after. Oops, sorry, I thought it was. What's going on here? There we go. That's weird. Okay, maybe a little air there. I'm not sure. Let's hope that applies that to the entire image. You know, I'm going to leave it there as let's go ahead and leave the automatic settings with the exception of that little bit of color noise we just did. And this should move fairly quickly. Again, just a 6 megapixel JPEG here. That is one thing about the Topaz Labs products. They do have pretty hefty system requirements, and a lot of them do use or take advantage of dedicated graphics cards, like from specifically NVIDIA. sometimes ATI. Those are typically more expensive machines. You don't have to have that, but if you're not using it, it does slow the product down, but I'm not going to say it's unusable there. Okay. So we processed our image there, and you know what? It actually did a pretty decent job. Those are actually stars up there, I believe, so that's not noise. So let's go ahead and see kind of the before and after. We're at 63% of the whole resolution here, and that's before. That's after. It's a little bit muddy, but let's say we went ahead and did a 4x6 print. Maybe you want to put this on your mantle or something like that. There. Let's see, 4x6 at 300 dpi. There we go. That's the 100% because we got a Retina display here. Is it fabulous? No. Could you put this on your mantle and give it to grandma? Yes. So I definitely think that is an improvement. Now, is it, leaps and bounds beyond? No, it's not going to completely save it. But, it's actually a decent way of maybe perhaps saving some of those super high ISO images you might have had from an old digital camera. I'm going to go ahead and just save this out in case you want to use it there in the video. We'll go ahead and do that. So that is the DeNoise AI product from Topaz Labs. As far as very modern image sensors, even with that older 12 megapixel DSLR we were looking at, it is not an incredible difference from the current Adobe products, Lightroom and Camera Raw, but definitely I can see a difference. And if you're pretty picky, I do think the product is probably worth it. If you're not as picky, you may not want to spend the money there on the particular plugin. Now, we did look, obviously, last thing at that old 6 megapixel ISO 3200 super noisy image. There I could actually see some real benefit there. If you wanted to make some small prints or maybe small web sizes, it can really make a bit of a difference there. So that is my review of the DeNoise AI product from Topaz Labs. Hope it was helpful. There's a link down below to the product there on their website. And again, make sure you're liking the video, subscribe to the channel, or follow us if you're watching this on Facebook. And I appreciate you watching. You have a good one. Bye-bye.